here from Dyslexic Investor, and we're going to be diving into a pretty in-depth view on NVIDIA, the company. We're going to be looking at the fundamentals. We're going to be looking at some professional quant and hedge funds reports that people might be looking at via the street and some other industries as well that have been provided. And at the same time, we're going to be looking at the chart. Of course, that's where my domain lies on charting and understanding stocks via the chart. But of course, having a really good grasp on the company, longer term potential, and so forth. AMD has been one of the fan favorites for the channel, and a lot of folks I do know we've been trading it in and out for some time. I can always go back to the story where I owned well over 1,000 shares of AMD when I was below $3, but then being a noob, I sold out of it when most of it on the way up, all the way up to like $12. And but yeah, you live and you learn, right? And but I won't let that one, probably won't let me live down for quite some time. On that note, we're going to be kind of doing something exciting. First, we're going to be jumping into the fundamental side. So we're going to do a different, like a screen share kind of possibility. So we're going to be going in to looking at these different various reports. So you can kind of see this layout. So this is from the CFRA. Of course, this is like a company that does like their own stock reports and so forth, and it kind of just gives you a level of what potential people could be looking for and kind of analyzing it from fundamental side and then also sometimes the technical side. But they don't dive too much on the technical side, so we'll be diving into that as well. So we're going to be looking at this report and then also the street ratings report as well. So those are the ones we're going to be kind of going through kind of fast because some of the stuff is just continuously the same things. It's very important to kind of look at this very stock highlights of the key terms here. I always look for the industry ownership. It's at 69. Always a good number, right? So 69% there. I don't really look at PE at all. I'm not really too much into that. I look, it doesn't have a yield, so it doesn't pay a dividend. The market cap, sure, whatever. The thing is also important is the beta. So the beta is always tied to the S&P 500. So that was basically a standard deviation of 1 or 1 beta. So this has a 2 beta. So normally, if we see volatility in S&P 500, this has a standard deviation move or a higher, more volatility that potentially can come from it. Because again, it is a leading supplier of microprocessors and chips and semiconductors and so forth. You can kind of see here on the risk assessment that they're giving it a high because it's a high percentage of volatility. This is not going to be an easy stock to swallow sometimes because again, it does kind of come with some ebbs and flows in the market, especially within the global market readings. Looking here at this little performance chart they have here, it's nothing like groundbreaking here. You can kind of see here that their target for the next year is basically around $100 a share. So that's their 12-month target. So that kind of is in line with a lot of other people's targets as well. So their 12-month target, you can kind of see up here, is at $100. And the current price as of this report coming out was around 80. So that's kind of like where we're currently sitting at. It's been kind of very choppy here in that market. We'll be going to the charts a little bit more in detail. Some interesting stuff on some highlights. They talk about the sales growth. They're talking about the inception of more of the data center stuff. We're seeing a lot of stuff coming out there. We're also looking for the acquisition to go through. Of course, that's been an ongoing process that's been kind of lagging things down on that front. You kind of get like a business summary. I think we all kind of understand what the company does, where it's located, some key officers, of course, the president, CEO, and so forth, the board members, founded some other ongoing industry stuff. Now we're getting kind of into the nitty gritty stuff of what the ratings on how they're looking at. So fair value ranking. So this is at the highest, meaning it's fairly highly valued. And then you have the volatility again. It's showing NA, which is kind of inconclusive from what they said above, but we'll see it like this. It goes through here. Technical, they're saying neutral since May 2021. The technical indicators for AMD have been neutral. Of course, we've been trending sideways. Insider activity is unfavorable, neutral, or favorable. Again, basically, I don't know what they're tying that into. Potentially, of people buying the stock, especially board members and senior level directors and so forth. Going into again here, is some the financials and so forth. I'm going through revenue from 2020 to all the way to 2021. Sorry, 2011 to 2020. You can kind of see here that I always look at just the revenue first and foremost to kind of see on how the company is doing from there. Free cash flow is also important. We want to see those as positive numbers. You can see 2020 was a really fantastic year on that front there. Net income, sure, that's kind of like a somewhat looking at potentially what is the outside earnings of the company on the basis. Again, you see that 2022 has been completely insane here. And I like to see the current assets going up. That's always great. We have cash, which is cash is king. That is for buying companies, acquiring companies, and so forth. Long-term debt, it has gone down. Like if you can see here, it went from, these are all within millions. So again, this is going to be $330 million, of course, that paid off. You can see here that there were well over $1 billion in debt for some time because, again, they were fighting with Intel. Again, this is, once we go to the chart, you'll see a little bit better picture on how the company has really come through. So I'm not saying that this stock's going to be going to 100 in the next week or two. This is more of a longer term play, and I'm actually going to be putting in capital to hold for at least 2 to 3 years plus. So that this is, again, be a little bit more on that larger scale on that factor. And then we're going to looking at the competition, right? So what else is in this industry? Of course, we have Qualcomm. I don't see, where's NVIDIA? That's really weird. Okay. NVIDIA should be up there. Again, NVIDIA, we'll go into the other report. They get a little bit more detail. NVIDIA is like 3, almost 4 times larger via the market cap. So we'll see how that's some press releases here and some news. Bada bing, bada bang. So this is the thing I always like to look at, because this is, again, going to the charting side. And when people tell you to buy, hold, and sell, I always kind of have to scoff at it, because I don't know what's gonna happen to the stock. You can kind of see here on the monthly trend here, which is, I don't know, on the hold level, and then buy and hold, and then buy, and then week means a week hold and a sell is the WH and then the S. It's basically been in a holding pattern for them for quite some time. And I believe this is on a 12-month scale here. Again, looking at this here for 2020, you see the price has, and the stock has been somewhat kind of this kind of trading sideways as of neutral. And you can see the ongoing growth here. Again, this report goes in pretty much a lot of details on the side of what their ratings and so forth are. Want to jump into the Street Quant report. So this is, again, another research document that came out on the end of May here on the 30th of 2021. They're giving it a buy, okay? And they have a price target for around 102.93. Not 102, not 100, but 102.93. So keep that in mind once we go jumping into the chart, where we'll kind of break that down here. You see here, I like this report a little bit better. It's a little bit more easier to digest. I like bigger pictures. I like picture books. I don't like a lot of just jumble on it. And this is, we are rating Advanced Micro Devices AMD a buy. This is driven by a number of strengths, which we believe should have a greater impact than any weakness that we should see and give investors performance opportunities in most stocks we cover. The company's strengths have been seen in multiple areas, such as its robust revenue growth. We talked about that one in the last report. We see the revenues growing year over year. That's really good. Largely solid financial position and reasonable debt levels. Again, we talked about that. The debt has been coming down substantially on most measures. A notable return to equity. Again, that is return on capital, shareholders, and so forth. A solid stock price performance, an impressive record of earnings share per growth. Again, that's also important on how they're treating their shareholders and so forth. Among the company may have some minor weaknesses. We feel that we're likely to have significant impact results. So highlighting all that, they're saying that this is a buy for us. And you can kind of see on this very basic graph here, you see their price target here at 102.93. You see the 50 SMA and the 100 SMA here lines here as well. And you can kind of see that the stock has been between the 80 and 90 range for quite some time. And not really seeing that much of that boost that we've seen here. The same kind of beta, I think the other report had it at 0.03. This is 0.04, kind of the same kind of notion there. Of course, about a $95 billion market cap there. Of course, no dividend to speak of as of yet. We're looking here at some more things on how the AMD performs into other sectors. So looking at other sectors here, we see here revenue growth and EBITDA margin. So EBITDA stands for equity. What is equity before taxes, whatever, an amortization. I don't know what the words are, but it's basically coming into how much can the company make from its making the product, delivering it, and marketing and all that other stuff with the set of taxes. So looking here at AMD, it's a little bit on the unfavorable side. NVIDIA is substantially higher than AMD on this chart here. But once we kind of go into getting out of the margins and we go to revenue growth and earnings yield, AMD is getting into more favorable and a higher percentage that we see other ones. You see Qualcomm kind of down here. You see MU. Intel is very favorable on the that side, but their growth revenue is not really there. Of course, they're seeing potential earnings yield, but they're not growing a revenue growth. So they're just kind of stagnant. They're just not increasing market share or kind of increasing the revenues and the growth there. They're just kind of better. Maybe taking some processes out of manufacturing and so forth. You can see that movement there. One thing I wanted to highlight, you see AMD on the very top here. You see net sales. That's very important. We have about $11 billion, 11.4 billion. Of course, this is the market cap of under 100 billion. So you see AMD here, or NVIDIA here, at $385 billion market cap, and they were only generating net sales of $19 billion. Okay, so that's a pretty significant jump there on that level here, just alone of, yes, it's double, but the company is literally one-fourth the size of NVIDIA, and they're doing a pretty remarkable amount of sales in that smaller segment in their lane. So that's very positive, right? In the same line here, we have Intel, which is again market cap of 233 billion, and their net sales is 770 billion, right? But again, it's a higher market cap, but their growth is not very high. So this is where people are like, how in God's green earth the company's making more money, the smaller market cap, it's undervalued, but their potential forward earnings and forward growth is usually what everyone looks at, even on a technical standpoint of like when you see those earnings reports and people talk about EBITDA and forward-looking earnings, their TAM, the total addressable market, all these little like industry kind of numbers and slangs they say. It's basically, what are your projections on what you can see coming out in 2025? Okay, and that's the thing where a lot of people got in trouble with the SPACs, where they were projecting out like 10,000% growth in like 5 years, and of course that was like oh well, okay, then now the stock is worth this amount. So you have to kind of I am mostly technical, but you have to have a fundamental understanding of what's driving this market. And this is a nice little breakdown here at a glance here. See growth very high. Total return kind of low because it's been somewhat stagnant. They're talking about. They're saying that the efficiency, the measures of growth, of historical growth of the company's return on invested capital, meaning that if I put in $100, I'm gonna see some potential movement on this. Again, this is a historical growth. This is not just looking at the last 6 months. This is looking at decades. Price volatility. We talked about this one numerous times. It's a tech stock and it's going to move. All right, folks, just be really well aware of that. Of course, income, not really, should probably just give it like a 0 because there isn't any yield or any kind of company payout on there. So they kind of give it at the lowest star there. So basically looking at this, we'll see on how the stock can perform here. You kind of see here they had a buy and hold here. They were telling folks to buy here at 36.71. Of course, that was in 19, and you see it's been continue still being a buy in favor here for the street.com. So on that note, let's go ahead and just peruse our way over to the chart itself. So looking here strictly at the 3-year weekly chart. So this is 3 years. Each of these little bars is 1 week. You can kind of see here, ever since it had this like very interesting like sideways pattern, but somewhat upward momentum here, it's been somewhat stagnant here, but now we saw that jump higher again. This is that 2020 ish time frame here. 2020 was a crazy year, right? In the same time, we had that report coming out, basically that the street.com had a buy here around that $37 to $38 price target. That was kind of in that really small base here, and ever since then has been a nice little growth. So ever since they gave that buy rating, as of today, we're looking at basically 108% return. And remember, they had that price target for 102.93. Okay, 102.93. You're like, what the Hello Kitty are they talking about? Okay, we can take a look here. We can look at some Fibonacci numbers. And looking from the previous swing high to the low that we saw basically in the May time frame was very choppy here. We have a pretty strong line in the sand here around $75 here. Looking for some initial targets that really need to be met before we can kind of see any significant movement higher here would be around $90. We really need to see AMD have some kind of strength. Normally this could be an earnings catalyst. This would be some kind of a product announcement, some kind of partnership. We're going to be doing a video here next about the AMD partnership with Tesla. So that's going to be pretty interesting there. And then also the same note, seeing here that potential very much overhead resistance there coming up, because semiconductors have been somewhat out of favor. We had that talked about that shortage in that space as well. So looking here for this potentially to kind of climb higher here on some potential move up here. At the same time here, we've been very stagnant. It's again that neutral rating that we saw here come across the board here, seeing it really hold around that $80 to $79 range for some time, and kind of getting to that lower 75s a couple times on very high volatility days. As of right now, I'm going to be looking to purchase the stock potentially around that $78 to $80 range. I'm going to just be purchasing the stock as of right now, and looking at potentially longer dated calls once we start seeing some follow through days and some more positive movements higher to really break that $85 to $89 targets here and really see that staying power up at those levels here. We are currently seeing a squeeze here on the weekly side as well, and seeing this kind of come through. Switching it to the daily chart, of course, here we're kind of hovering that 144 EMA. We've had a little bit of issues kind of breaking out again in that smaller time frame here, but really looking for this to really kind of catapult us higher if we do get that news coming out and the positive rotation back into the stock here. Because again, if you're looking here on this particular chart here, we're seeing volumes have been very stagnant. Because again, once that did ramp up in that 2020 last year, basically around the summertime, we saw it really kind of jump higher around the mid of July into August. Again, that was when the earnings came out. Of course, earnings is a very large catalyst for a lot of stocks. So AMD is no exception to that. You can kind of see it's been very choppy here, so it's not going to be. I think it's kind of been kind of kicked to the side, and not people have been viewing on it. But I think they're up to a lot of good things. Technically speaking, that 102-ish range could potentially be met. We can kind of look at that via Tastyworks. So Tastyworks, if you're not familiar with it, is a platform I use for trading stock and options. If you're interested in opening an account, have a affiliate link down below. If you open up an account of $2,000 or more, you have a choice to choose 100 free options or 10 options as well from starting your account. So we can kind of look at here, we're looking at the January 21st, 2022, and we just go to the 100 call, and they're saying the delta is around 29.13. You're like, Ken, what the hell does that mean? That basically means the delta in back of the hand, back of the envelope kind of math. There's a 30% chance as of right now in this second for this stock to be $100 by the 21st of January 2022. Jumping back to the chart here, looking at the daily side, we're seeing more actions coming in here. Again, more just continuously kind of building this momentum here. I like to see this pattern just to kind of continue to hold. If we do get a cut back, and so for whatever reasons in the market, because again, you know the market guys love to throw curveballs at us traders and investors, we're kind of potentially could be reaching that $74 to $75 level there. That's going to be a pretty significant line in the sand for me. If I'm buying stock at 78 and 70-ish, $78 to $79 range, I want to be looking to potentially put a stop in right below that or at that price range to kind of see, again, I'm not willing to risk more than 2 or 3% of the net capital or capital available within my trading account or my investing account in that fact. So guys, ladies, gentlemen, thank you so very much for watching. If you have any questions, please again, jump on over to the Discord. We have a fantastic Discord. If you haven't already, you can kind of jump in. We just talk about all fun, fantastic stuff and just charts as well, and just having a grand old time over there. Again, completely free, no obligations. Just come in, join, great stuff. Again, ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream. Peace.